those that practice in this way are trying to always relax into this ground of being. And this is why the line points out that, no matter what happens at death or at any time when the three worlds fall apart, the practitioner remains unafraid because they're just they're letting go and they're relaxing into that ground. There is no attachment to the 5 desirable qualities of sense objects. So the 5 sense objects are the eyes, and the eyes see images and forms. The ears, and our ears hear all sound. The nose takes in all smell. The tongue experiences taste of all kinds, the 6 tastes. And the body experiences all touch. It experiences touch from others, and we can touch other objects. So the prayer is saying that our main experience of grasping comes through these 5 sense objects. And it's natural and it's human to enjoy the senses. And actually, we understand from Ayurveda that our senses need to be fulfilled. If they're underused, that becomes a state of imbalance as well. So we have a human body. It doesn't mean that we have to deny it. And if we look back historically, the Buddha tried denying the body. He tried asceticism. And he realized that that wasn't the answer either. And so what he ended up doing was finding the path that this prayer is describing. Buddha Shakyamuni taught what's in this prayer. So here it's saying that when we maintain our mind in Rigpa's pristine, unimpeded richness, that even if we're surrounded by every possible object of pleasure, that we can enjoy it, we can experience it, but we won't cling to them and become overly attached in an unhealthy way, that would be deluding ourselves. So I just want to point out here, because I see people fall into this pitfall all the time when they're studying Dharma and they get to this part of the teaching. It doesn't mean that you can't enjoy things. It doesn't mean you have to walk around and be like a cold fish, Sometimes I see this as the result of Dharma practice, or that a person says, well, I'm being detached. So then they become unresponsive. That's not the answer. We can see a beautiful flower and be like, wow, that's gorgeous. Or we can experience someone that we love and just, really experience that individual deeply. But what the prayer is starting to point out is that if we could recognize this open nature, this open, expanded awareness, and experience from that place, then our experience actually becomes amplified. You know how when we practice eating with awareness, sometimes in our retreats we eat with our hands, and then we try to eat with awareness. The taste becomes even more profound, right? If we're aware when we're eating and we take a bite, we go, wow, that's amazing. But then we can experience that instead of shutting that down, or instead of trying to control it or start to grab onto it. And then we start to go, oh, I got to have 5 of those, instead of just enjoying what we have. Or I love, my husband. And we can love that person, but not have to control them every second. But one needs to be very careful that in a practice of not becoming attached, practicing some sort of more openness, that we begin to lack responsiveness. Okay, and I want to warn the men particularly of this problem, okay? It's not only a man's problem, but the men have a problem with this more, that you can lack responsiveness. And women may have more of a problem of falling into attachment. But we all have both. We all have both. So we should be aware of that too. Fear or terror is also expecting something. So with aversion, when we have fear or terror of something, there's a kind of aversion that's arising, right? So when we hope for something, when we hope, it's not like we can never say, oh, I hope you're okay. Of course we hope someone's okay. But when we hope, like we start to hope and hope, I hope that it goes like this, and it has to go like this, and I hope that I get this. And then that hope becomes a really strong need. Or if we hope that it goes that way, and if it doesn't, we're not going to be okay. And then if we fear things, I fear that that's going to happen. And then that fear it goes further. And it's almost like we're expecting the worst. I'm so afraid that the whole thing is going to go like this, and then that's going to happen, and then that's going to happen. And that's my fear. So hoping and fearing are sending us into the 2 extremes of attachment and aversion. So the bottom line is that our emotions are always going to arise. Somebody's going to do something, and it's going to make you angry. And there may be a good reason for anger sometimes, okay? So we're not saying we should never have emotions. In fact, we become much more in touch with them. Things will happen, and it will make us extremely sad. And sometimes I see this pitfall. Well, you're practicing Dharma. Shouldn't that mean you shouldn't be grieving so much over the loss of your husband? What is that thought? That is being caught in extreme detachment. That's missing the point. So we will have loss, and it will make us extremely sad. We will have scary things come up, and we will get scared. We will see something happening and feel left out and feel jealous. We will see something and want more of it and try to seduce it. We will feel like we're not enough, and so we'll try to make ourselves feel superior. We will get deluded and think we are superior, and then we'll have to fall off our pedestal. And sometimes we'll just be deluded and confused, right? It seems there's no way out of it. We can accept that. But what the prayer is saying is, if we can recognize and maintain original awareness, when anger arises, we'll be able to say, oh, hi, anger has arrived at my door. And it doesn't mean we say, oh, well, I'm not angry. You're angry. Well, no, I'm not angry. No, instead we can recognize I'm angry. But then there's a different thing that can happen in that moment. You can hold that anger, and then the prayer is going to tell us what to do. It's going to help us. Basically, it is telling us what to do. It's saying, when anger arises, maintain your original awareness. That's the answer. And then you won't get lost in the anger. When jealousy arises, recognize it. And in recognizing it, you'll stop perpetuating all the stuff that you're doing. Either the stories you're telling, and then it's making you do certain things or not do other things. And just relax, stop, let go, relax. Just drop into that relaxed space and rest there. And then what will come from that space will be a completely different thing. Instead of being jealous and then starting to act out in all sorts of unconscious ways because you can't stand how you feel, you relax into the ground of being. You return home to yourself. And then a completely different quality arises, and you just begin to accomplish what needs to be accomplished from that place. So the ego has to be strong enough to let go. Like we have to be strong enough to quit fighting the fight. You know, the ego likes the thing. It likes that thing that goes like that. You know, it doesn't want to let go. Because if it lets go, that means it dies. We do experience a death. But the prayer is saying, relax the tension, return to primordial purity, and rest. And then from there will be a different action, or there will be no action. And that might be surprising, right? Because we think, well, no action. Well, maybe that's better for you. But we can't, just stay with what I'm saying right now, because if you try to put it into a scenario in the future, it won't work because you don't know how it's going to work. You just have to listen to what the prayer is saying now.